Hey, what's going on, bikers? Pierce here with Electric Bike Report, and today we have Electric Bike Company's Model S. The Model S is a Class 3 beach commuter that has a lot of customization and a lot of power. This is the ultimate beach cruiser, and I'll get into why in the video. Let's get started. So the Electric Bike Company Model S is a really good beach cruiser for those who can appreciate putting their own personal touch on the bikes. This is an American-made bike. They're based out of California, and it's very apparent there is a lot of passion that goes into these bikes. This isn't a bike that just goes down an assembly line, and you can really tell based on the customization you can do on this website. We were able to design our Model S relative to the way we wanted it to look and the performance that we wanted it to have. Being able to have a base model, but then pick and choose different parts to make it your specific bike is a really cool aspect of Electric Bike Company. From the wood fenders to choosing your certain drivetrain, it's really cool how they care and how they're able to put this bike together for you. From the welds to the low step frame, these are very well thought out bikes, and I can really tell that this is a team of people who does care about their craft and that puts a lot of time into it. So the Electric Bike Company Model S comes with a 500-watt motor, which is the same size motor as a lot of other electric bikes that you've probably seen. From how smooth it engages to how long it's predicted to last, this motor is very impressive. Electric Bike Company claims this motor should last at least 18 years, which kind of shows this isn't a bike or a motor that you're going to need to replace after a couple of years. I still had a few questions about this motor, so we went to one of the steepest hills we could find in town and conducted two tests. One where I was climbing the hill with only the throttle, the other test where I was climbing the hill in pedal assist level 5. This gives us a good idea of the true power and performance of the 500-watt motor. Alrighty guys, we are at the bottom of our test hill now. This is the Model S hill climb test with throttle only. This is going to be a good indicator of how powerful this 1250-watt motor is by itself without any rider assistance at all. Alright, get my pedals in the correct position even though I'm not pedaling. All right, grip and rip the throttle, here we go. So some very apparent acceleration right away. Up to the max throttle speed of 20 miles per hour on that straightaway. That's a really good sign going into this hill. The more speed these bikes have going into the hill from that straightaway, typically the better they do. Makes a lot of sense with the momentum they have. We're around 12 miles per hour now. Now 11, and we are on the steepest part of the hill. Now this motor is definitely working. We're now at about 8.5 miles per hour. This lever throttle isn't hard to maintain holding for a while. Some throttles are stiff enough, you kind of get sore if you're holding it the whole time. That's not the case with this one. The bike seems to have okay acceleration in between the steeper pitches. And we're down around 9 miles per hour right there. So far pretty solid. We've definitely had faster bikes, but with this beach cruiser style, this is definitely one of the better hill climbers for the cruiser-oriented style of the bike that this is. You're gonna see this bike on flat ground a lot more than hill climbs as it is, but it's good to see this thing can climb our test hill with throttle only. Finishing up here, crossed the finish line at 15.8 miles per hour, so pretty solid overall. As I mentioned, we've had faster bikes. I haven't seen our time yet, but I can tell by feeling from doing this hill so many times But for what this bike is, that was a pretty solid result. All right, now for the pedal assist level 5 max assistance hill climb test. This comes with a single speed drivetrain with the way we have it set up. It's a monstrous 56 tooth chainring and an 18 teeth it's a 56 tooth chainring and an 18 tooth freewheel in the rear. So here we go. Some extreme acceleration right there. Holding a lot of speed, hit almost 24 miles per hour right there. I've noticed this bike gets around 25 with this single speed drivetrain. So I'm pedaling with some casual legs right now. I'm not pushing down super hard. This bike's doing pretty well. Still above 12 miles per hour. And despite the harder gearing on this bike, the motor makes up for it. The main thing I'm really noticing right now is pedaling with the bike is really helping out the acceleration on the less steep parts of this hill. I don't believe I've dropped below 12. That's a really good sign. The pedaling position on this bike is very comfortable. It's not one that you're gonna have to reposition on a lot. Even when you're climbing a steep hill like that, you can stay seated. The motor's gonna pick up all the slack. You can just pedal. So crossing the finish line at 16.7 miles per hour there. Really fast. So after we completed that test, it ended up taking me 1 minute and 25 seconds with an average speed of 12.8 miles per hour to reach the top of our test hill in throttle only. It only took me 1 minute and 10 seconds with an average speed of 15.5 to reach the top of the hill in pedal assist level 5. Between the two results, I was pretty impressed, mainly because it's a beach cruiser. While we've definitely had a little bit faster bikes climb our hill, as far as the beach cruiser oriented style, this is definitely one of the better hill climbers we've seen. While a lot of people will probably be riding this bike on flat ground, it's good to know that it can still perform on hill climbs. One thing I thought was very interesting about the hill climb was the single speed drivetrain here. We have a monstrous 56 tooth chainring connected to an 18 tooth cog in the rear, which makes for more of a flat ground oriented gear ratio. However, the motor was able to pick up my slack and lack of easier gearing to the point where I still flew up that hill overall. Electric Bike Company gives you the option to go with the single speed or the 7-speed option on their website. You can customize it when you're checking out and designing your bike. And overall, I kind of like the single speed drivetrain because it allows me to focus more on riding and less on what gear I'm in. The main thing about beach cruisers is you want to be focused on what's going on around you, smelling the air, having a good time, having a smile on your face, and not what gear you're in. And for that, I feel like they've really nailed the single speed ratio for this bike relative to the power of the motor. So as you heard me mention, one of the main selling points of the Model S and Electric Bike Company's models in general is the amount of customization you're able to do on this bike. One of those customization points is the battery pack. The base level has a 48 volt, 12 amp hour battery. The next level has an 18 amp hour battery, then 30, and then a monstrous 36 amp hour battery. So we ended up going with the 18 amp hour battery. We felt like that was enough for what we were using the bike for, and we actually put this battery to the test. We did 2 separate range tests, one on the lowest pedal assist level and one on the highest pedal assist level. This gave us a good idea of how long this bike can last when we are pedaling the whole time in each respective pedal assist level. When our test rider pedaled this bike in the lowest pedal assist level, he reached 65.7 miles with an average speed of 11.12. When I did the test in the highest pedal assist level, I reached 34.89 miles with an average speed of 18.8. I was really impressed with the way this battery lasted. I was hovering around 25 miles per hour a lot of the time. Obviously, I dipped down on the hills. hence the lower average speed. But my average speed was pretty fast overall, especially when you consider the single speed drivetrain. Because I wasn't able to change out my gear to kind of counteract and help the motor out, the motor worked a little bit of overtime, thus draining the battery faster. So my results and our other test rider results are really solid for an 18 amp hour battery. Those who want to cruise even farther can do additional upgrades to the mentioned 30 amp hour and 36 amp hour batteries, which will come in a basket on the front of the bike. Between all the customization and the performance of this battery, it's safe to say that everyone should have a battery setup that works for them, and these batteries last. Another real cool thing about these batteries is the charger's included, and that's actually because the cable is built in. All you have to do is pop it out of the side, plug it into the wall, let it charge, and then it's a ripcord where you pull it and it goes back into the bike. I thought that was a really nice touch on this bike, and I wouldn't mind seeing that on more electric bikes in the future. Alrighty guys, so I wanted to take some time to talk to you about the cockpit on this bike, what you'll kind of be working with when you're riding around. So let's turn on that display first. You'll be greeted with the Electric Bike Company logo, and then a sufficient amount of data shows up on this screen. One thing you'll notice is pedal assist is actually off when this bike turns on, and I think that's a really cool safety feature. To turn pedal assist level on, all I have to do is hold this down arrow for a second, and then pedal assist is engaged. I can cycle through all my settings, 1 through 5, or even go backwards down to 0 if I want the screen to be on, my lights to be on, but I don't want any pedal assist at all. So these are electric bike grips. They're made by Electric Bike Company. They're hand-stitched leather, and then they have the aluminum rings on the outside to make sure they're lock-on. I like these grips because they're plenty comfortable, and they're also very easy to take off if you were to want to interchange them. Right next to that is that LCD display controller I was working with. You have your on button, increase pedal assist, and lower pedal assist. And holding down these buttons, one or the other or both at the same time, will help you cycle through your settings, doing stuff like turning on the lights or resetting your trip distance, stuff like that. You got your Tetra Dorado brake lever here. You have a phone mount courtesy of Electric Bike Company. I'm a big fan of this phone mount. It's done a good job holding onto my phone. And then this color LCD display is great. It even tells you your temperature, which I think is pretty interesting. I am pretty curious as to how it knows that because it is actually super accurate. Another thing that I liked about this display is it was very honest with how much battery was left. I pretty much knew exactly when the battery was going to die, which can't be said for every electric bike. Moving over to this side here, you have your lever throttle, which has a lot of power modulation. You can hold it down a little bit if you just want to cruise forward, or you can push it to the max and get up to 20 miles per hour fairly quickly. That's all connected to this alloy back swept handlebar. It's a 27 or 28 inch handlebar, and it puts your hands in a very comfortable position when riding. As a whole, this is a bike, as I've mentioned, that you don't really have to focus on or worry about. You're more focused on what's ahead of you when you're riding this bike, and that's mainly due to the way they have it set up here. In front of that, you have a big old basket that has actually been extremely useful today for moving things around, putting my helmet in there when I'm wearing my hat, stuff like that. Last but not least, you have an adjustable stem here, so you can tilt the bars forward or backwards, and this also allows a wider range of riders to feel like they have the appropriate reach for themselves. As a whole, you should have pretty much everything you need and then some when it comes to the cockpit on the Model S. So the Model S comes with 5 total pedal assist levels, and here at Electric Bike Report, we conduct what we call a circuit test to get a better idea of how each of those levels performs and what the relationship is like from level to level. So as a whole, the Model S has a very linear power curve, which I am very much a fan of. Basically, you can expect the same increase in speed and power from level to level overall. So level 1, there wasn't much of a jump from the bike being turned completely off up to it. Our test rider only had an average speed of 0.2 faster than with the bike turned completely off. Pedal assist level 1 is kind of going to be that level for very low assistance and ensuring the battery life is very long. Levels 2, 3, and 4 all jump up around 1.5 miles per hour above each other, and then the jump up to level 5 is the biggest jump of them all. Level 5 will put you about 3 miles per hour faster than level 4, and with the single speed drivetrain, usually we are riding around 25 miles per hour as our top speed. We had an average speed of around 21 to 22 miles per hour in pedal assist level 5. So in summary, as a whole, I think most riders, experienced or inexperienced, will be very comfortable with how the assistance levels jump from one another. It's not like you're going to get to a certain pedal assist level and be blown off the back of the bike by the power it has. It feels very well calibrated, the motor engages smoothly, and there should be an assistance level for pretty much everything. Here at Electric Bike Report, we like to conduct a brake test to get a good idea of how long it's going to take you to stop on the respective bike that we're testing. This Model S comes with Tektro Dorado hydraulic disc brakes. They're e-bike specific and they're hooked up to 180 millimeter rotors front and rear. These rotors are a little bit thicker than your average rotor, and throughout my time testing the Model S, I've been impressed with the stopping power. But for you guys, I am going to conduct 5 total brake tests from 20 miles per hour to see how much on average it stops my 165-pound build to stop. Overall, as I mentioned, I am satisfied with these brakes, so let's get on with the test. So I just finished up the brake test. That was 5 total tests, all from 20 miles per hour. My end result ended up being an average of 19 feet 4 inches. While that result is a little farther than I was expecting, I understand. Reason being is we were going pretty fast, 20 miles per hour, and also the Schwalbe Fat Frank tires are pretty semi-slick. They aren't the chunkiest tread pattern, they're more cruiser oriented. And because of that, they do tend to skid a little bit at higher speeds. That skidding is coming from the power of these brakes though. And when it comes to the power of these brakes, they are extremely confidence inspiring. As I was going down our test hill earlier today, I reached speeds of around 35 miles per hour, and I had no problem slowing down on time or feeling safe. I felt very safe with these brakes, and I would highly consider looking for Tektro Dorado brakes on the e-bikes you're looking at. They're some of the better e-bike brakes out there, and I would definitely recommend them on just about any e-bike, mountain, road, or cruiser. So by this point in the video, you've seen how the Model S performs in a lot of our tests, but how does it perform when you're just out riding and having fun? Well, I would consider this a bike that is very easy to learn. There isn't much of a skill curve, and anyone young or old, experienced or inexperienced, is going to be able to hop on the Model S and have a good time. It's a very well balanced bike was one of my main takeaways. As I was riding around, whether I was going uphill, downhill, or cornering, I felt very stable and in control on this bike, something I very much value on a beach cruiser. In my opinion, beach cruisers should be designed to where you can focus more on the area around you than all the nitpicky little details that some bikes have. This bike is also very comfortable. I'm very impressed with how comfortable this bike was, especially on my range test, where I was pedaling nonstop for nearly 35 miles. That's mainly due to a few key components, one of which is your suspension seat post here. You have about an inch of travel there that allows you to stay seated through a little bit rougher stuff, like perhaps a boardwalk or more of a gravelly, rougher road. That's connected to a big leather seat here that seems to cradle your body very well. And this is exactly what I'd look for in a beach cruiser saddle. The handlebar sweep was also nice. It kept me nice and upright, but it still gave me enough handling that I was able to corner and feel confident when I was going faster downhill like I was on our hill test. The suspension fork was also a nice touch. It's a lot nicer suspension fork than what I'm used to seeing. One of the things that I really liked about it is it had a preload adjustment, and it also had distinguishable increments in between each click, in between fully open and fully locked out. That way you can really dictate which setting you prefer and go back to it next time. The Fat Frank tires have proved to be puncture resistant so far, and the rims are heavily reinforced. They have 13 gauge spokes on them, and they just feel bomb-proof, honestly. And that's kind of the theme of this American-made bicycle as a whole. It feels so well put together, it's going to stand the test of time. As your friends get bikes that perhaps may be a little lower tier, you'll see the longevity of this bike come into play. As parts go out, like their motor and battery, yours will stand the test of time. And if they don't, there's a reputable company that is definitely going to help you out behind them. Electric Bike Company has a plethora of accessories, including this wireless speaker, the phone holder you saw earlier in the video, and this cool pannier bag. So the Mic-mounted pannier bag here, it's awesome in the sense that it's very easy to clip in, and all you need is the included key to clip it out. That clip keeps it stable, and as a whole, this is a very high storage capacity for a pannier bag. If you're not a fan of the design, no worries. There is a lot of designs for you to choose from on Electric Bike Company's website. As I've said time and time again, they have enough customization with this bike that you can design it exactly the way you want it. As a whole, this bike is going to be great for just about anyone who can appreciate a quality cruise on the beach, the paved trail, or just around town. With all of that being said, the Model S has been one of my favorite beach cruisers I've ever reviewed, and I think the customization aspect will allow those to design it so it's the same case for them. They can design it so the color, the drivetrain, and a few other components and specs you'll see can be relative to the way you want to live. I really appreciate you guys watching today. It means a lot that you watch our reviews, and if you enjoyed, it helps us out a lot if you hit the like button and the subscribe button. If there was any questions that I didn't answer in our video review, check out my written review in the description below. I go a lot more in depth there, and I should answer all of your questions accordingly. Leave a comment as to what you'd like us to review next and what you think of the Model S overall. With all of that being said, it's been a blast reviewing the Model S. My name's Pierce with Electric Bike Report, and I'll see you next review.